Everyone. Decided to looks like I was going to be able to do more streaming tonight, so I'm going to try and get further in Apollo Justice. So last time we were working our way through the past and present of the final case. We ran into a couple of snags, but we managed to eventually get through them. And it seems we have one last visitor to or one last section to go through. We cleared everything here. Yeah. And now we're gonna take another visit to our friend in solitary cell 13. Sorry, sir. Prisoner Christoph Gavin is currently occupied. I see. You know when he'll be finished? Well, could you go find out? Certainly, sir. Please wait here a moment. My apologies to the guard, but there's something I need to see. There it is. Yellow envelope. And the sender is Drew Misham. I was right. When I arrived at the studio, Mr. Misham was at his desk. He seemed to be writing a letter, but he quickly sealed the envelope. It's the yellow envelope. Yep. Heard it was in that crime scene. This is the last letter that Drew Misham wrote, and there's something I need to do. Last thing I need to do, in fact. Here goes. Let's see if this etroquinine spray finds anything. There it is. So this was Drew Misham's messenger of death. Is this stamp all right? No mistaking it. And this last letter was sent to Christoph Gavin. Interview request came like you said it would. They're looking into the case. I swear on my life I won't tell them about you, so please release the spell you put on my daughter. I'll write later with a report. Decisive evidence. What's this? A burglar in jail? Gavin, I didn't know you moonlighted in larceny, right? Gavin, there's something I have to ask you. Can I steal your stuff? The answer is no. My apologies, but there's not much I care to discuss. Vera Misham hasn't received her verdict yet. You follow me, Gavin? There are no known survivors of etroquinine poisoning, but it never hurts to hope. Okay, I'll be leaving now then. Right, wait. Yeah, Gavin? Do you mind leaving that letter? It's private. Oh, sorry, forgot I had it. Many thanks. We've now seen all the clues in this case. Clues I gathered over 7 long years. Now it is time. Every story has an ending. We've come to the final chapter, the final trial. Find the truth, you're the only ones who can. Welcome to court. 7 years, all leading to one verdict. A verdict which you must decide. Is the defendant, Vera Misham, innocent or guilty? Courtroom doors are opening, the trial awaits. Are you ready to begin? Something inside me, rising, surfacing. Something important lost long ago. It's close now. So close. Court is now in session for the trial of Vera Misham. The defense is ready, Your Honor. Prosecution's ready to rock. Prosecutor Gavin, how is the defendant, Vera Misham's condition? Acute atropinine poisoning. According to her physician, she could die at any time. Thus, her absence from the courtroom today. What? They can't put her on trial without her being here. It is unusual. They should wait for her to get better and do it then. It's so bureaucratic of them. That's being a little harsh. They can't delay the trial any longer, or they risk having no one left to try. Trial without a verdict can only cause grief. The records of this case and experience tell us this. Apologies to the defendant, but the show must go on. Right. If Vera dies, the trial will be cancelled. I'm not going to let that happen. Mr. Wright told me everything that's been going on behind the curtain all these years. I'm going to give Vera her innocent verdict while there's still time. Very well. Your opening statement, Prosecutor Gavin. The prosecution's case is unchanged by recent events. Why did Vera Misham succumb to poison? Because she couldn't live with the guilt of what she'd done. Vera was poisoned with atropinine, the exact same poison that took her father's life. What better confession could you ask for? Being the killer, she would have had access to the poison. Significant, since it's rather hard to come by. That is true. In other words, I see no need for further discussion. We could have had our verdict yesterday. Well, Mr. Justice, if you have no objections, I see no reason to postpone a verdict. What we need to worry about isn't the verdict, but the trial itself. The defense holds that Vera Misham is the victim, not the killer. If that's so, then you have to prove something. She was in court giving her testimony before us. How do you propose her killer poisoned her? Oh, and incidentally, it would be nice if you told us who her mystery killer was. Prosecution's objection is sustained. I ask the defense to prove its claims to this court. Tell us how Vera Misham was poisoned. Got two things to prove here. Who did it and how. Which to hit first. How did the killer... The how one is fairly straightforward. How did the killer poison Vera Misham? I will focus first on the method used. Any comments before we begin, Prosecutor Gavin? Not a bottle or container of the poison was found on the defendant's body. I see. So the vector of poisoning is unknown. Is the defense prepared to prove how the poison reached Vera Misham? Yes, Your Honor. Very well. What method was used to poison Vera Misham? What's this? My, what a beautiful bottle. I'd like to give whoever designed that a hand. Is that nail polish? It's colorless. Ah, something the matter? No, nothing. Nothing at all. So the killer put poison in this bottle and made her drink it? As Prosecutor Gavin has told us, this is nail polish. Nail polish? It's like paint for nails. You know any women with red nails? Ah, my wife has red nails. I see. So she's been painting them all this... Judge. Please. Let's recall yesterday's trial. Remember when Vera was testifying to the court? The court is now back in session. Yeah, it's... If it's something that's consumed, there's only one time she put anything in her mouth. She seems pretty tense. She's practically chewing her fingernails clean off. Whenever Vera became nervous, she had a habit of biting her nails. Her nails? Ah! Prosecutor Gavin. The prosecution had Vera examined, they check her nails. Bailiff, have them check the defendant's nails at once. Mr. Justice, yes? Do you know who did this? Do you know who put poison in that nail polish? Yes. That bottle belongs to Vera Misham? I think Clavier recognizes it. Why do you ask? You know someone else who might have a bottle like this? No, just checking. You're a poor liar, Clavier. You're about to accuse someone of poisoning that bottle of nail polish. Please dispense with the chatter. You realize the weight of this accusation. Here, let me show you. Understood, Your Honor. No problem. I know what I'm doing this time. Let us ask, who poisoned Veromisham with their nail polish? Well, I mean, we can't bring up the court record at the moment, but we know where the other bottle was found. What's this? Christoph Gavin?
Objection!
What's your game? My bro. There's no way he could do a thing like that. You should know that better than anyone else. Indeed. He is behind bars. I know. However, that doesn't mean it was impossible to do what he did. What? Ask yourselves when he put the poison in the bottle. Could have been yesterday, could have been a month ago, maybe it was a year ago, or perhaps it was 7 years ago. But Christoph Gavin had no motive for killing this poor girl. It's simply inconceivable. Prosecutor Gavin doesn't seem to think so. That face tells me one thing. Christoph Gavin's own younger brother doesn't find it inconceivable at all. Well, Prosecutor Gavin, if you feel there's a clear and pressing need, then we may have to summon Christoph Gavin from jail as a special witness. Fine. I've known for some time that an impenetrable darkness lurked at the bottom of this, a darkness that has swallowed even myself. Okay, the defense's wish is granted. Let prisoner Christoph Gavin take the stand. Bailiff, begin proceedings to call a special witness. The witness is Christoph Gavin, currently residing in solitary cell 13 at Central Prison. Ah, Your Honor, how nice to see you again. It's been quite a while, hasn't it? To what do I owe the pleasure of your company? It's not every day I'm summoned from my solitary cell. In fact, it's never. I think you already know, Mr. Christoph Gavin. Ah, Mr. Justice. I hear you've been doing quite well for yourself. Why do I feel like somehow he's still my boss? Stiff upper lip, Apollo. You could do it. Does this bottle look familiar? Ariadne nail polish. Why, yes, I use it myself. As did the late defendant, I hear. She's not dead yet. And? Was there something concerning this bottle you wish to ask me about? I admit I respect her for her taste in nail polish. Her taste, indeed. This nail polish was how Veromisham was poisoned. Atroquinine, was it? You're well informed about the case, Mr. Gavin. Even in solitary, much comes to my desk, and I have nothing to do but read. Well, Clavier, maybe you can explain this. You're being accused again, by him, again. Ah, and you agree with his accusation, do you? Let's hold a proper trial, shall we? Christoph Gavin, your testimony, please. I'd be delighted. The charges against you are quite severe, Mr. Gavin. You are suspected of the poisoning of the defendant, Veromisham. Please testify on this matter to the court. I mean, this is going to be difficult considering what we're going to have to pull out for evidence. The same nail polish does not a murderer make. I have been in solitary confinement for half a year. How could I poison her? Her father died of the same poison, the meaning of which should be clear. The prosecution's case holds. She poisoned her father, then attempted to poison herself. Surely you aren't going to suggest I was responsible for poisoning her father, too. Well, I'm afraid the defense's claim is sounding rather unlikely. Naturally. For one, I don't even know the Mishams. Isn't that so, Mr. Justice? Very well, Mr. Justice, begin your cross-examination. I'm accusing Christoph Gavin, my ex-boss, but I know he poisoned the Mishams. The question is, when could he have done it? Not to mention, why? Same nail polish.
Hold it!
Is this nail polish expensive? Adonai is a nail polish of the highest order. Not only is it fabulously expensive, but is made in extremely limited quantities. And you and Vera just happen to both use it. It can't be a coincidence. I'm guessing it's not a coincidence. Huh? It's simple. Ariadne is the best nail polish one can buy, correct? Then, if one wanted the best nail polish, one would buy it. Makes sense. Why, it's a bit like my feelings toward my brand name Cavalier. And my silk top hat. Are all done showing off our refined tastes? Please, continue with your tasteful testimony. Can't you still make contact with the outside world in solitary? Ah, so he had an accomplice on the outside. Is this your latest accusation? I'm allowed a certain modicum of letter writing. But the contents of those letters are closely checked. It'd be extremely difficult to send a hit request. Prosecutor Gavin's on the warpath, isn't he? Yeah. You think so too, Trucy? I bet I know why. He must be nervous with his big brother watching. Maybe that's a weakness I can turn to my advantage. Are we cool with that? May I continue? Father died of the same poison, the meaning of which should be clear. The defendant is not dead yet. There are no known cases of someone surviving atroquinine poisoning. You seem to know a lot about atroquinine. I know a lot about a lot of things, which is why I suggest we pick up the pace, or else you'll be short one defendant for what she's worth. The witness will refrain from speaking ill of the ill. My apologies. Shall we continue? Prosecution's case holds. She poisoned her father, then attempted to poison herself. Vera had no reason to want to commit suicide, and also, who would commit suicide by doing their nails? The answer is quite simple. Basically, allow me to explain, beginning with, why did she do it? The answer is quite simple. She couldn't live with her own guilt. Next, why did she use nail polish to poison herself? This too is simple, so she could die doing something that she liked. Something that she liked? When she saw that the trial wasn't going her way, she knew she would die, and it's not easy to bring poison into a courtroom. Must I explain further? I believe that's clear enough. Crystal clear. Wow, the two brothers together is like a two-man wrecking team. They could use a little more teamwork, though. Surely you aren't going to suggest I'm responsible for poisoning her father, too. Both Vera and Mr. Mission were poisoned with atroquinine. That really can't be a coincidence. The defense is repeating fallacious statements based on conjecture. The prosecution requests concrete, unambiguous proof of the witness's crime. Objection sustained. The defense will please present concrete proof. Prosecutor Gavin seems strange to you too? It's like he's all grown up. I think that's how prosecutors are supposed to be, actually. Though he is acting different than usual. I bet it has a lot to do with his brother Kristoff being in the room. Well, let's make this testimony count, Paulo. Right, quick and painless. A bracelet should do the trick. Okay, I'm questioning my ex-boss. His testimony seems watertight, but he's lying. I'm sure I'll be able to see something, as long as I focus. Well, I guess if we're going to start, we're gonna looking for a. It'll be this one. Nothing there. I didn't know there was a scar there? Huh. Ooh. That was pretty freaky, to be honest. It was you who killed Drew Misham. A bluff worthy of your new mentor, Mr. Wright. Oh, really? But you see, I saw it. Right when you said her father, too. Your hand tensed unnaturally, and a little devil appeared to give me the news. And, let's assume for the sake of argument that you saw me being tense. What does that mean? Are all tense witnesses guilty? And tell me, was Drew Misham fond of nail polish too? Sorry, but there's more than one way to poison a man. You don't need nail polish to get to someone's mouth. Ah. Then I must be very talented indeed. You see, Drew Misham was killed on October 6th, while I was already in my solitary confinement cell at Central Prison. If that's not an alibi, then I don't know what is. But you found a way all the same, and I found it too. This is how you poisoned Mr. Misham. I'm sure this commemorative stamp requires no introduction. The night Mr. Misham died, he was seen writing a letter. The troponine was found on the stamp, Mr. Gavin. So am I to understand this stamp was the murder weapon? Yes, you are. Oh, and yes, this stamp was found in your prison cell. That is all, Your Honor. Order, order, order! Poison on the back of that stamp? Well, yeah, we already knew about this from the frame where it was kept. After Drew Misham was killed, someone paid a visit to this witness's cell. Phoenix Wright. Daddy? That's when he found the stamp. You made Drew Misham write you a letter. That's how you killed him. What? My. You've upset my poor brother to the point of uselessness. Allow me to clarify this matter, Justice. All you need to do is recall witness Spark Brushell's testimony. Well, that's the thing, see. After he put his letter in that envelope, Mr. Misham sat there searching his desk drawer for something. His desk drawer? Yes, a stamp, a so-called postage stamp, end quote. He was looking for a stamp, ergo, he had no intention of using this stamp. What are you getting at? What I'm arriving at is that this commemorative stamp was in a frame. It was mere coincidence that he used it that night. That would seem to be the case. Yeah, it's mere coincidence that he used it that night and not 7 years ago. Or perhaps you mean to suggest that I can somehow manipulate coincidence. He does have a point. How would this witness know if the victim was going to use that stamp? Without that, he couldn't have planned the murder. What? Really, Clavier, you should be seeing through these weak-spined bluffs by now. He's right, though. How could anyone have known Mr. Misham would use that stamp that night? Least of all Christoph Gavin locked away in his cell. Well, it seems the defense has run out of things to say. You assume he had something to say in the first place. I believe the defense's bluff has been called. The defense's bluff? I'm not sure I agree with you there, Christoph. Clavier? Honestly, I wanted to believe you. But the defense wasn't trying to get away with a bluff. You were, Christoph. What are you saying, Prosecutor Gavin? Herr Forehead. What was your accusation again? Huh? Oh, it was that this poison stamp killed Drew Misham, yeah? To which my brother responded thusly, there was no way to know when Misham would use the stamp. Yes, that's right, which is why it couldn't have been planned. Tell me, it needs to be planned. Why? Why couldn't it have been a coincidence? The defense's case is simply that Drew Misham died by that stamp. That's all. Coincidence. Christoph, you tried to slip out from under his accusation by changing the subject. If that's not bluffing, what is it? What are you up to, Clavier? I could ask you the same question, Christoph. Heh. I silenced the defense with the fewest words possible. It's called efficiency. But Mr. Gavin, that's impermissible testimony. Very well, I shall take his claim head on then. Justice. What? You accuse me of Drumisham's murder, yes? Then, allow me to ask you, what possible reason could I have to kill a painter? Hollow, motive. He's talking about a motive. Indeed. It's hard to see how an attorney could come to want to kill a painter. Now here's something. Why didn't he bring up the motive from the very beginning? Unless he was afraid it was a battle he might lose. So what does it mean? It means there might be a weak spot. Maybe I have some evidence to prove motive. Motive for murder. This is a vital, if not the most vital element in this case. Please consider this when making your statement. I'd say it's about this vital. That's pretty vital. Well, Mr. Justice, I'm through with this no matter what. Understood, Your Honor. I'd like to present evidence. Then let's see what you have for us. What reason did Christoph Gavin have for wanting to murder Drumisham? I mean, this is possibly one of them. This is also possibly related because I have a hunch. It's too blurry to read. It looks like it says David. I don't know. I mean, I figure it's either this one or this one. But this is probably the more prescient one. Christoph Gavin's motive becomes clear when we consider why the stamp came to Drumisham's studio in the first place. And why was that? Forgery, Your Honor. Go back 7 years. Drumisham accepts his first job creating forged evidence. I've seen that before. Page from a diary, wasn't it? Magnifique Gramarye's diary. Ah, when Attorney Phoenix Wright lost his badge, yes. This was the evidence he presented to his loss. This evidence is a fake, yes, but did Mr. Wright request the forgery be made? That was never proven. The defense attorney on that case was Phoenix Wright. Who, other than him, drunk with the prospect of victory, could have done it? And why would they? Just out of curiosity, do you remember this letter? This is the first page. And this is the second. Those were presented in court yesterday. This letter was sent to Drumisham by the client who requested that forgery. The enclosed stamp was none other than the poison commemorative stamp. Drumisham drew his last breath just the other day. However, the motive for his murder was already 7 years old. 7 years old? The client who requested this forgery was very cautious. He tried to erase anything and anyone with connections to the forgery to keep them from talking, but he made a mistake. The stamp was a picture of my favorite magicians, so I kept it. Father took me when I was very young. It was a great magic show. I loved it so much. The killer's time bomb was delayed. The poison stamp was sealed within a glass frame, where it sat for 7 whole years. Hair, forehead. Do you understand what you're telling us? The one who schemed up the forged diary page was the one who poisoned the stamp. And it was Phoenix Wright who presented the forged evidence 7 years ago. Adding the two statements together, the one who schemed to kill Drew Misham was none other than Phoenix Wright. Sorry, but that's not how this is going to go down. Oh, then how will it go down? I checked through the records on that case when I found this. 7 years ago, just before the trial began. Oh boy, here, what's this? I don't know, I just got it over there in the hall. He told me to give it to the old boy in the blue suit with the spiky hair. And one more thing. I'm sorry to have sprung this on you so suddenly. I received the files from your previous attorney only yesterday. I understand I'm asking the impossible of you. Yes, well, you haven't really told me what happened yet. Yeah, all we did was play cards, and that was enough. So, yeah, he was put on the case the day before the trial started. How is he going to plan out all of this stuff when he didn't even know what was going on? He didn't have time to request a forgery. The day before. Now here's a question. Just who was Shady Enigmar's previous defense attorney? No, this can't all be. But it is all true. There was another man, a defense attorney with a badge on his collar. It was you, Christoph Gavin. Order, order, order! What is the meaning of this, witness? I mean, defendant, or former lawyer? Let me begin by denying this. It's easy enough to look up, Mr. Gavin, and impossible to prove if you can't. Attorneys are registered with the court the day before the trial begins. In other words, no record remains in the court. How exactly did you intend to prove Phoenix Wright's claim? That would be difficult. I'm afraid this line of inquiry won't yield. Herr Forehead, are you sure you don't have evidence? What's wrong with Prosecutor Gavin? He looks clammy. Evidence. Evidence that shows this man, Christoph Gavin, requested that forgery 7 years ago. Clavier? Just prove it. Clear up these doubts now, or I swear I'm off this case. You must have thought of some evidence, Apollo. Prosecutor Gavin looks like he's in physical pain, that darkness. I have to pull that darkness out of him, and proof is the only way I can. What proves Christoph Gavin's link to Drew Misham? Well, Mr. Justice, you claim Christoph Gavin requested a forgery of Drew Misham 7 years ago. Prove it. Can be proven. Simply ridiculous. Why even discuss it? This evidence does not... Are you telling the truth, Apollo Justice? I am. Then I say we give him the benefit of the doubt. Very well, but if you're wrong about this, be prepared for a penalty. Your Honor, you do the defense an injustice. Mr. Justice is clearly passionate about his claim. Should the penalty not match his passion? I haven't given a penalty like that in a long time. Well, Mr. Justice? Fine, Your Honor. All I have to prove is any kind of link. Something that ties Christoph Gavin to Drew Misham. And I have something that clearly does the job. Oh boy. I mean, this seems like the one that it should be. Because, you know, he sent him... It's got the stamp on it. There is also these, though. But this doesn't really tie him to Christoph Gavin. It ties him to Apollo Justice. We can't prove that he's the one who sent this letter, because I don't think so. This is just for... I mean, it's gotta be this one. This evidence proves there's a link. That scrap of paper, I'm afraid I can't let you submit that. There's some problem? There is. How could you possibly have that? You couldn't. Hmm? It's Daddy's handwriting. Mr. Wright's handwriting. What is the meaning of this? Ah, I see now. Yes, of course. What do you mean, of course? I just remembered I had a visitor yesterday. Phoenix Wright came to my cell, except I wasn't there. Phoenix Wright? When I returned, I saw he had something of mine in his possession. Of course, I had no intention of letting him get away with reading my private mail. Mail? You mean this letter was in your cell? No. However, it appears Mr. Wright has yet to be cured of his bad forging habit. Well, if it's a forgery, it's not a very good one. The handwriting's terrible. This is Mr. Wright's reproduction of what was written in the real letter. Reproduction? When Mr. Wright visited Christoph Gavin's cell, he brought with him a small video camera. What? He recorded his entire conversation with you, Mr. Gavin, and the contents of your personal mail. Regardless, this mockery of a piece of evidence will never be accepted by the court. Evidence based on a video a man with no authority whatsoever claims he took. A man who happens to be an ex-attorney suspected of forgery. Prosecutor Gavin. Prosecutor Gavin. As embarrassing as this is for me to say, I'm afraid my brother is incapable of making rational judgments at the moment. Your Honor, your decision, please. The defense's claim is denied. What? Only actual evidence is permitted in a court of law. Please remove the defense's evidence from the record. Better luck next time, Justice. Well, we've certainly taken a detour from our cross-examination, but the defense appears to be lacking proof. I'm forced to end the cross-examination of Christoph Gavin at this point. Apollo, do something! I'm thinking, but without evidence. I don't have anything I can use on him. Very well, this ends the special witness's cross-examination. The show is over, yet the crowd screams for more. Only now do I understand why. Prosecutor Gavin? Frankly, I'm relieved. This has been bothering me for 7 whole years, and I'm tired of the whole youthful angst scene. Now's our chance. Let's clean out the family closet, eh, Christoph? Clavier, you're spinning out of control. Calm yourself before you say something you'll regret. Spinning out of whose control? Mine or yours? Take a moment to consider everything you've built. Your reputation as a prosecutor, your fame with the masses. You could lose it all, Clavier. Apollo, did you see that? He's trying to press Prosecutor Gavin. Prosecutor Gavin, try to remember. What's really important to you? You amuse me, fair forehead. I couldn't forget what's really important to me, even if I tried. In fact, I haven't, not even once. 7 years ago... finally. You just couldn't resist, could you, Herr Wright? Presenting solid evidence? Might I request we put the current cross-examination on hold? Prosecution would like to call a new witness. And this was when Dermisham showed up. I'm familiar with the trial. I've watched the video several times. Didn't you find anything unnatural about it? Unnatural? Well, you did seem unusually well prepared. I mean, Mr. Wright had only just presented his evidence, and the next moment you call in Dermisham. It's almost as if... what? Funny, didn't even occur to me to wonder. But now that I do, I see there's only one possible explanation. Almost as if, from the very beginning, you knew Mr. Wright was going to present that evidence. Correct. I knew that if I applied the usual pressure, Phoenix Wright would eventually come up with that forged diary page. Don't do this, Clavier. I knew because you told me, Christoph. Yeah. It was the night before the trial. Clavier. Christoph, odd seeing you at the prosecutor's office the day before the trial. Thank you. One moment. Alright, I'm done. Ah, I won't be appearing in the trial, actually. Huh? Why not? I won't be facing off with you on your first trial, apparently. But in exchange, I brought information. Information? The attorney who will be there at my place tomorrow is not to be trusted. Don't even give him the benefit of your respect. Listen, I want you to call in a special witness. Then... I wondered about it at the time. How did Christoph know so much? Prosecutor Gavin. Christoph, we were supposed to face each other in that trial. A fair fight, brother to brother. I deserved that much. You let me borrow the victim's belongings. You showed me all your research on the case. The victim's belongings? Which would have included Magnafy's diary, wouldn't it? Mr. Gavin? My, Clavier, you disappoint me. You find trees, yet miss the forest. You're the one missing the forest, Mr. Gavin. You can't sweep this under the rug, not anymore. Tell me what's going on behind that trial. Why not? I've achieved what I came here to do. I see no harm in a little reminiscing. Apollo. I think we're finally going to shine a light on the black belly of this thing, Jersey. We've done everything we could. I hope it's enough. 7 years ago, the day before the trial, I visited the detention center at the request of my client, Zach Gramery. 2 cards. 1 card. Showdown time. Enough. You lose, Gavin. Thanks for the work. Now go. To be honest, I don't know what his reasons were to this day. As far as I can tell, he dismissed me as his representation because I lost in a game of poker. I can come to no other conclusion. Daddy used to say something. If you want to know a man, you have to compete. Zach wasn't watching his points or the cards. He was watching the man behind the cards, Christoph Gavin. I couldn't believe it. Phoenix Wright, a second-rate attorney who relies on luck and bluffs. He dismissed me and went with that pitiful excuse for a man. He deserved to die for that error alone. Hold it. So the one who requested that forgery was... Oh, I'm not admitting to anything. My point is, these two men shamed me and I could not forgive that. Phoenix Wright and Zach Gramery both deserved what they got. So you asked Mr. Misham to forge that evidence, so you could win. But then, when you were dismissed as Zach Gramery's attorney, you used your forged evidence as a trap. You fed me information about the forgery you made. Then you gave your dirty evidence to him. You're free to imagine what you will. My point is that all I had imagined came to pass. Everything went perfectly. Ha. Incredible. If I wasn't laughing, I'd weep. Prosecutor Gavin? Perfectly? You're mad, Christoph. Stop fooling yourself. What are you talking about, Clavier? Tell me, how did that trial end? Cancelled when the defendant vanished. Ah, I get it. So, Christoph, you've been living in fear for 7 years. What? You were afraid your forgery would be revealed and your reputation trashed. You couldn't leave things to chance, so you watched everyone involved with the case for 7 years. You know, he always felt like he was being watched. That's what he said, every day for 7 years. But I felt it too, journalists sure he's being watched, end quote. But you wonder why Zach Gramery got rubbed out after 7 years, right after coming into contact with me. Wait just a minute. Zach Gramery was seen by this reporter? How is that possible? Was he alive after being gone 7 years? Finally, I knew this moment was coming. I just didn't think we'd get here so fast. Zach Gramery gone missing for 7 years, Trucy's father. What's wrong, Apollo? Go get him. Right, leave it to me. Allow me to refresh the court's memory. 6 months ago, Christoph Gavin was charged with murdering a mysterious traveler. I remember him quite well. Shady Smith, was it? Poisoned in a Chinese restaurant. Tragic. Judge, the details don't really matter right now. What matters is that traveler was Zach Gramery. What is it, Apollo? Huh? Keep going. We'll talk about it later. Did she already know? Someone please explain this. Mr. Justice, can you explain this? It all started 7 years ago. The great magician Magnifi's death started it. His death and his student Zach, the suspect. Whoever defended Zach in court successfully would be famous beyond belief. Thinking that, Christoph Gavin did the unthinkable. He forged evidence. Through Misham. Actually, it was his daughter, Vera, who really did the work. You took precautions when you had that forgery made, didn't you, Mr. Gavin? Precautions? To keep people from talking, of course. These two know too much. Leave them alive and there'll be nothing but trouble. That's when you planned your poisoning of the forgers. Atroquinine applied to a commemorative stamp. But luck was on Mr. Misham's side. The bomb didn't go off. His daughter. She saved him by taking the stamp, I see. But that wasn't the only bomb he set up. The Ariadne nail polish, of course. You noticed something when you requested that forgery. When Vera Misham is nervous, she has a bad habit. A tendency to bite her nails. Ah, That nail polish was her good luck charm. She was almost kidnapped once. Since then, she's been, well, you can see for yourself. She refuses to leave the house. A good luck charm, yeah. It was his insurance. Insurance? As long as she lived quietly at home, there was no danger to her. But what if she had to go outside? If she ran into any trouble, she'd become nervous, and the nail polish would do the rest. His time bomb sat there for 7 years, and then they went off almost simultaneously. If you're finished, may I return to my cell now? I'm not accustomed to standing for such long periods of time. Mr. Gavin, have you heard a single thing we've said? Oh, I listened quite closely to your little tale. Quite an entertaining piece of fiction. What? Clavier, surely you understand. We're back to the evidence, the lacking evidence. Nothing proves a link between him and the Achokonine that took Trumisham's life.
Objection!
What about the restaurant? You killed Zach Gramery to keep him from talking. I killed no man of that name. Read over the report again if you like. The victim was a traveler by the name of Shady Smith, about whom we know little else. You can't seriously think I knew he was that particular fugitive.
Objection!
Okay, then why did you kill him? I plead my right to remain silent. Remember, this court did not convene to put me on trial. The defendant's name is Vera Misham, suspected in the murder of her father. My trial's been finished for 6 months now. I'm afraid we have strayed considerably from our purpose here. This court concurs with the witness. It is defendant Vera Misham who is on trial here. No, but you were doing so well, Apollo. As long as there is no evidence to support the accusation against him, this course of inquiry cannot find Vera Misham innocent. Your Honor, Phoenix Wright spent 7 years collecting this evidence. You still don't get it, do you? Let us assume there was poison in the nail polish. Who then was responsible for causing Vera Misham to bite her nails? What? Wasn't me, I know that much. The one who brought that poison to her lips was you. What? Evidence is everything. There is nothing more. I believe this discussion has reached its conclusion. Your Honor, Mr. Justice, you have performed admirably well for a novice attorney. I respect your partner, Phoenix Wright's determination as well. However, without direct proof, you have nothing. Isn't that right, Clavier? Unfortunately, yes, Christoph, you're right. That is, you would have been right until now. What? Did the news not reach your desk in solitary? The eyes of the nation are on this courtroom today. This is the trial case for a new judicial system. That's right. I'd totally forgotten. The jurist system. Jurists, you say? The current judicial system has been deemed too closed off from society. This new system attempts to inject the wisdom of common citizens into the law. Common citizens? Wisdom? Is this some kind of a joke? What could we possibly gain by doing this? Entrusting our judicial system to a mindless, emotional mob of irrational mouth-breathers? Common citizens have something called common sense. Common sense is not restricted by the law. Nonsense! There is only room for two in this court, me and the law. Keep the riffraff out, I say. They're not in the court, actually. They're watching everything by video camera. Okay. That was a pretty good moment when they turn and look at the screen. Gotta admit, that was pretty good. How can you allow this? Incidentally, the one responsible for making this happen was Phoenix Wright. Phoenix Wright? No lobster this time. So everything was leading to this, of course. Right. 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 There's the breakdown. I won't accept. I can't accept. This is no court. Law. The law is everything. Law is absolute. You let ignorant swine soil your courts? Kristoff, it's over. Clavier, the law is absolute. You can't be serious. What? Odd. I thought you spent your life looking for loopholes. The law isn't absolute. It's filled with contradictions. The law is the end product of many years of history, the fruit of human knowledge. Like a gem polished to a gleam through trials and errors. It is this fruit we receive and pass on and face in our time. And it is always changing, growing. Nurturing it is our task as human beings. Except for you, Kristoff. You aren't changing. You've stopped. You're not needed anymore. I couldn't think of anything to say. Maybe because I still haven't seen enough. But someday I'll know what law is. And I'll fight to change it if I have to. I see no need to further prolong this trial. This began as the trial of Vera Misham, accused of murdering her father. The painter drew Misham. However, several other incidents were reviewed and we seem to have reached a conclusion. Before this court declares a verdict, I await your decision, jurists of the court. For the death of Drew Misham, how do you find the defendant, Vera Misham? Innocent or guilty? I turn to you now to consider this matter. This ends the trial for this case. Only the verdict remains to be decided. Defendant Vera Misham is currently in intensive care. The decision cannot be reached today, and may never be reached. The factors involved are simple. The defendant poisoned her father that night. If so, she is guilty. Or was there another reason for Mr. Misham's death? Did another person poison him? If so, she is innocent. A panel has been provided for each of you to input your decisions. That is all. Please, wait. Yes, jurist number 6? There's something in the jurist's handbook here. Persons involved with the case may not be jurists. That is correct. I've looked into all your dossiers. None of you were involved with the development of the case. With the development of the case, I see. Does that answer your concern? It's time for your verdicts. Make your decision in the case against Vera Misham. After 7 years, the truth is ready to be heard. Judge wisely, judge well. Yeah, it's an interesting twist at the end here. But, so a verdict was reached on October 9th, 2:14 p.m. First verdict under the jurist system. Innocent by unanimous decision. The record will show that when the verdict was announced, Special Witness Christoph Gavin laughed. A laugh louder than any ever heard before or since. A laugh that echoed in the halls of justice, lingering for what seemed like hours. October 10th, 8:30 a.m., the morning after the trial, in an intensive care ward, a true miracle occurred. Vera Misham opened her eyes. Vera, I'm so glad. Don't cry, Apollo. I'm happy too. I'm proud. You did well, Apollo. And I thought about what if Vera... Hey now, don't you start crying too. I'm sorry you had to see us like this. Vera, thank you so much. Apollo, thank you. No, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have pressed you like that. If I hadn't, you never would have bitten your nails. No, I was wrong. Staying locked inside like that, clinging to my good luck charm. Vera, when I opened my eyes and saw you, I finally understood. It's important to be a part of the world, to see things with your own eyes. Looks like that poison had some effect after all. Killed off whatever was holding you back from life. I knew you'd pull through, Vera. I mean, that's what Apollo was fighting for the whole time. Your future. I won't forget it. Here, let me thank you. No, really, it's okay. Ooh, look, it's me! I love it, thanks. Is that me? It's really captured your essence, Apollo. Well, I think so, at least. It reminds me, do you know where the other lawyer is? The other lawyer? Oh, you mean Daddy. Except he's not a lawyer anymore. It's my fault, isn't it? I'm sorry. Oh, no, that's not what I meant. No, it's okay. I'm through looking away from the things I've done. I hope I can look him in the eyes again someday and apologize. I'm sure he'd be happy to hear that. He brought all those things for me when he came to visit earlier. Oh, the DVDs. Stack of videos? Mr. Wright finished watching them all? You know, I knew my real daddy was alive. Huh? I was there 7 years ago, remember? I was the one who helped him vanish from the courtroom. You did what? How? I'm not telling. He promised me that day he went away. May not meet again for some time, Trucy. But know this, I will be watching, and one day I shall return. You're the next Grammary, after all. Oh, Trucy. In the end, he couldn't keep that promise, could he? It's okay. Phoenix is my daddy now, even if he can't really play the piano. That he can't. Oh, and I've got you too, even if your voice is kind of loud sometimes. Glad I made your list. Hey, come to think of it, where is Daddy, the one who can't play? Do you know Apollo? I think he said he had to meet someone. I wonder. Maybe it's a new mommy. Teehee. Oh, Trucy? Yes, Vera? I was wondering, could you show him to me once more? Sir Hat, was it? Oh, he's not been knighted. Yet. Here goes. Do us an impersonation, Mr. Hat. Objection. Ahem. Not loud enough. And I like Miss Magic Underwear better anyway. That's Magic Panties, Apollo. So, your memory's returned. Mr. Wright, was this all a part of your plan, too? I don't know what you're talking about. When I lost my memory, I was reborn as Lammeror. But you knew my true identity, did you not? That is why you chose me as one of your jurists. Ah, you're thinking into it too much. Besides, there was no guarantee that regaining your memory would make you happy. Of course it is a happy thing. For so long, I thought I was alone. But now I know I have children, 2 dear children. I'm so proud of them. This, too, I think, is thanks to you. Are you going to tell them? They do not know? Nope. They don't know their mother. They don't even know their siblings. I will go to them when the time is right. Until then, Don't worry, I'll take care of them for you. They're very important to me, too. A little annoying at times, but still. I have to keep an eye on her, at least. Because I'm the only one who knows how she really feels on the inside. Your bracelet. Yes? I've seen a lot of mysterious things these past 7 years. But your bracelets were the strangest of all. I remember meeting him half a year ago now in Christoph Gavin's office. And then I met you, two fates destined to intertwine, and I was there when they crossed. I'll never forget that. Such a small thing, that bullet, yet it tore who I was away. "10 years ago, during a simple rehearsal. It was a miracle no one died, but I didn't survive that accident. That is why I left the troupe, my family. Now my memory is returned, I am myself once more. For the first time, I am glad to be alive, Mr. Wright. Speaking of miracles, Vera Misham regained consciousness this morning. I can only hope she's as glad as you are. It is a strange thing, fate. Sometimes a life is taken, sometimes a life is spared. You know what I've been thinking. People don't die that easily, really, as long as they've got something worth living for. And that's pretty much the end of my story, for now anyway. I've still got a long way to go, and this power of mine, well, it needs some work. But there's hope now. We lost it, but somehow we found it again. That's why people are smiling again. Hope. Yeah, I think I'll keep this lawyer thing for a while. Oops, training time. Gotta go. Cords of steel, here comes justice.
Objection!
Glad you're staying with the agency, Apollo. It's like I found my long-lost big little brother. Oh, and don't you worry about Troop Cramray. Trucy's on the case. Now that I have this, thanks to Daddy. Trucy Cramray? Finally, I got my doubts. But Hat Cramray, now that'll pack him in. It's not every day you get a trial that rocks harder than one of our gigs, yeah? That's why it's over. The Gaviners are breaking up. The news caused a run on tissues at supermarkets nationwide. You're the real stars now. I look forward to our next jam session. I'll give my thoughts after the credits. Well, it's finally over, you know, thinking about it. I've been a piano player longer than I was a lawyer. Now that everything's sorted and I've got time on my hands, maybe I'll take some lessons. Or maybe I'll take the bar exam again. So, I was standing around eating snackoos the other day when I got this crazy idea. What if they were golden? You could augment the crunch, or better yet, make them ding. Ah, the power of science. Although the preservatives might not be 100% safe. An unlikely event you're wanting Russian feast, come to Borscht Bowl Club. Only thing colder than a restaurant is borscht. But if greater challenge is being required, then come to the hideout. You know who to ask for. I'm surprised they kept her on after, you know, the whole setup of what happened. So, Kentucky Pastries is getting back to its eastern roots. Spread the culture and all. Yo, boss, culture time. This is how we write root, capiche? But we're still about giving back to the people. Yo, boss, PR time. This is how we write people, alright? Not that Waki's paying any attention. Oh, kids. Chinese characters on cake was a fly idea like 3,000 years ago. Man, you want to make it today, you gotta keep it real, you know what I'm saying? That's why I made the OG cracker. Now it don't look like no cracker. What, you wanted me to call it the OG muffin? I mean, at least he seems to be getting along with the family. I don't know where all this talk about food is coming from. You ask me, there's only one food, and that's noodles. Noodles forever. I got a new one, too. See, this time I just put a big chunk of salt in the bowl. Why pretend? Eldoon's Noodles is about the salt. Salt forever. My exceptionally inquisitive nature has won me unequivocal adoration in my department. See, they used to call me Wesley Stinkler and Wesley Sticky Hands. No longer. I have a new name, one that reflects my true academic nature. Wesley Sicko Reporting. Yeah, that seems about right. I don't know how to thank you for all you've done. Light has returned to my life, and with it joy. I may have lost years, but I have gained a treasure. 2 treasures, in fact. I will think of them when I write my next song. Brushel. Brushel here, back on the beat with another interview. How do I feel about how things turned out? No scoop yet, but journalist confidence in mint condition. End quote. I've decided to keep painting. Originals only, of course. I suppose I'll have to see a bit of the world outside to find what to paint. But I know there are good people out there now. I've met them. The door is open. The world is waiting. Thank you. Aww. Congratulations, you just selected a special bonus in the music and background settings screen, AJ Apollo Justice Ace Attorney commemorative. Nice. Not tonight. Anyway. I guess that's in like the extras or something. I haven't really messed with this much. Ah, I see. That's a cool photo. Or a drawing, not a photo. I see there's like individual case art. Some characters we haven't met yet, because I'm pretty sure they're in later games. But, yeah, I'll have to look at those later. Anyways, yeah, I guess I'll wrap this up with my thoughts. Like I said, I played this game originally, oh man, it was probably the year it came out, which was it's like over a decade ago, easily. I remembered a few things about it, but for the most part, yeah, it was fun to go back and revisit and remember all the things that I missed. As far as how I feel about the game, it's good as a game and a story. There was some, I liked some of the interesting things you could do with the like the soundboard and the scientific tools. I remember when I played the first game for the DS, and then they had the DS exclusive case, which was the one where Emma showed up actually. And they added in the whole stuff with like fingerprinting and that kind of thing. That's always fun to add in as a investigative tool. The one thing about the case is it kind of almost worked better as a story than it did as an actual like, okay, you've got to solve the mystery. Like a lot of this stuff falls into place pretty quickly in terms of like being able to figure out what happened. And I guess that's partially kind of the point in this, in that this the ending of this, or the main story of this one, is it's sort of like a, I don't know if deconstruction is the right word, but it's an interesting take on the idea that instead of it just being, oh, you have to have perfect evidence, that's something that comes up in the previous games, that you'll notice like it's one of the quirks of this being a video game as opposed to, an actual form of law, and that, like, you could prove everything except if you don't provide the one right piece of decisive evidence at the end, then your client still gets declared guilty and you still lose the trial. So having them, kind of flip that on its head and go, hey, actually, this is not, actually tenable in real life. So, if you... obviously they wouldn't be able to go in and have a real actual complex case in reality, but to make it complex enough and have that it's the idea that all these cases in Ace Attorney games, just one little thing could have changed and you'd have a case that would be impossible to prove. So, it always comes out like, works out for story purposes that you can always find just the right piece of evidence, or that, just the right coincidence happens that you're able to solve the case. So by, turning that around and saying, hey, well, in this one, you can't, definitively prove, that it's 100% that this guy was the actual killer or whatever. but that's the point. Is it's well enough that anyone who reasonably would look at it would be able to say, yeah, okay, but it's actually him. So it's kind of cool that they gave a nod to that in the game, even if it ends up not necessarily making for the most, I guess, engaging is the term, because once you hit that last part of the trial, you're the difficult part was literally what happened in the previous stream, where we were trying to figure out exactly what were the right pieces of evidence to get the people we were talking to Zach and Valent towards the end to give their information out. Once I hit the actual trial, it was just like, oh yeah, here's the thing you're supposed to present. I guess it could potentially be this other thing, but really it's just, you line everything up and knock them down pretty quickly. But it was an interesting take. Like I said, I've not seen. Oh, I don't say I've not seen. I'm aware that there's some new characters that will show up in the next couple of games, but as far as how the cases go. So once I get started on that, that'll be completely new territory for me. But it'll be interesting to see what they do with this sort of change in the decision making. I mean, ultimately, I guess stuff won't be too different if we're basically able to say, okay, we solved this case, then it's going to turn out the same way. But I guess it'll be interesting to see how that's handled, considering, once you hit this point, it's like, do you even need to be 100% able to prove your client's innocence? But we'll see what happens. But if nothing else, I enjoyed it. The story was good. It was cool seeing how the characters changed. Hobo Phoenix is one of my favorites. I know it's not. I don't know if it's 100% like. We talk about how characters change over time and when things happen to them. I don't know if I buy 100% that this is the kind of character that Phoenix would turn into if something like this happened to him. I mean, he's always been a good guy, throughout the games, but this sort of oh, I'm the cool hobo dad now who somehow, is able to influence the entire law system despite being disgraced as an ex-attorney is a little ridiculous, but it makes for good drama. But I guess, we'll see where he goes from there. But overall, yeah, it was fun. The first game is still far and away my favorite. And I'm not going to get too much into that, but I mean, the ones that come after it were good. And this one, Trials and Tribulations, Justice for All, they're good. I, would recommend anyone play them if they haven't and they're interested in this kind of fun setup. It's definitely, when I first found out about these games, almost 2 decades ago now, it was, this was the kind of thing where I was like, oh, I saw this and I was like, wow, this is actually really cool. I'm used to, games where you jump on Koopas and, fight goblins and with swords and magic and, maybe if you're, maybe you might do something slightly interesting, but or slightly, out of the norm, but you would never have a game where you play as a defense attorney. What is this? So, playing it was definitely an interesting revelation for me in terms of what you could do with, a video game. But it'll be interesting to see where the series goes from here, and it'll be fun to keep going with it. So I guess that's gonna wrap things up for me tonight. I'm not going to start on Dual Destinies tonight. That will probably be tomorrow. I think I'll be able to play tomorrow night. We'll see how things go. I'm not quite sure of my schedule for the rest of the week, but tomorrow should be okay. We'll get started on that one, and we'll go from there. So I hope you enjoyed this set of streams for Apollo Justice, and like I said, I recommend you go back and play the original trilogy if you haven't yet. There's a lot of good stuff there, and you know, yeah, that's about it. So hope you enjoyed this, and have a good evening. We'll catch you next time.